Welcome back to part 2 of our leather dyeing video. And today we're going to finish up discussing leather dyeing, and we're going to talk about identifying the type of leather you have and then caring for it. So what happens when you find you have a nice old leather item, a belt, a bag, a pair of shoes, and it just needs a little TLC. How do you do that? And how do you avoid getting your leather in that condition in the first place? So, we will be right back. All right. Well, let's start with the wallet. Here we go. Remember what this looked like? All better. And notice how nice and shiny that little brass snap is. The leather dyes and the finishes, this, just rub right off. So you don't have to worry too much about your metal parts when you're doing this. But this one is finished. It has 3 coats of the leather finish on it because I wanted to get it back to the sort of finish it had when it came from the Louis Vuitton factory, because what's the point of having a nice designer wallet if it doesn't look like a nice designer wallet? So this is it. Now, as you saw from what this looked like yesterday, I am exceptionally hard on my wallets. So in another year or 2, I'm going to be re-dyeing this, and we might even do another video about it. But I tend to look at this as sort of temporary, only because, like I say, I'm really hard on my wallets. So let's talk about that. What happens when you have a wallet, a bag, a pair of shoes, a belt, whatever it might be, that has been previously owned by somebody like me who's very hard on it? Well, this is the kind of product you need. This is Wyman's Leather Cleaner. I am not brand loyal about leather cleaners, that's a thought. Leather cleaners, ever since T.W. Rounds in Providence went out of business. They were a world-class leather shop, and they made the best leather cleaner around. Now that they're no longer in business, I consider myself settling no matter what I buy. This just happens to be the brand my local store carries. It does not come like this. It has a trigger handle, but in addition to being very hard on wallets, I am also very hard on trigger handles. I don't know what it is, but boy, I just touch those things and they fall apart. So yes, this has a soda lid on it. So when I use this, I'm just going to have to take the lid off, pour it on a little cloth, and wipe down my leather with it. Leather has some enemies that you really need to be aware of. And basically it's 2 enemies, moisture and light. Now, sunlight will fade leather. Everybody pretty much knows that, I would imagine. If you have nice leather furniture and you have it right in front of a bright sunny window, you're probably going to have some problems. My suggestion to you, if you want to keep fine leather furniture in your home and you have that nice sunny window, close the drapes in the afternoon. It's really going to add a lot to the life of your furniture. Other than that, your belt, your shoes, you have to go out in the sun. Just don't leave things intentionally out in bright sunlight if you can avoid it. You go shopping, bring your handbag with you. Don't leave it out in the car sweltering in the heat. Moisture. This is interesting because moisture is a problem for leather two ways. Leather can dry out, so it needs to have a certain amount of moisture. On the other hand, too much moisture will rot the leather. It will cause serious problems. You can get mold and mildew in your leather, and you can find that that beautiful sofa you paid $2,000 for is going out by the side of the road because suddenly it's a mold hazard in your home. So you need to keep your leather dry, but not too dry. And that's where a leather conditioner comes in. A leather conditioner will moisturize your leather, and this is something you want to do periodically. If you have a piece of old battered leather, this is your first step in reclaiming it. Try to work some moisture back into it. And as I say, any product, this just happens to be the one my local store carries. Any leather conditioner will do. I get them in large bottles because although I don't have much leather, a couple of handbags, but I do have a couple of leather ottomans. And because they are furniture, and because I have a cat, they do take a bit of a beating. The cat likes to sleep on them. Your best friend. Your worst enemy. Now, I imagine most of the women watching this video are going to be saying, who in the world would put Armor All on leather? Men. They do it all the time. I think it's because they feel if it's good enough for the vinyl on their car interior, it's good enough for their shoes or their belts or their whatevers. Um, so if you have a husband who likes to clean up the leather, just make sure to take the Armor All away from him. It is, I want to say it's a rookie mistake, but it's actually more than that. I understand the rationale. I understand that somebody looks at this and says, vinyl, cars, the rubber, it's going to be great for leather. No, it isn't. This is made for synthetic products. Well, not that rubber is synthetic, but primarily it's synthetic products. It's not made for a natural material like rubber. So if hubby is going to be taking care of the furniture, hide the Armor All and make sure he becomes friends with your leather conditioner instead. Now, having said that, the reason for this is leather is expensive. Good leather, especially, is very expensive. And a good conditioner and good cleaning will preserve your leather. A high-quality leather item should last you a lifetime. There are pieces of furniture out there, and I've seen them, and they are made from full grain or top grain leather, and they're over 100 years old, and they're still in great shape because they've been cared for. And people didn't use products like this 100 years ago. Very often they would use natural products like lanolin and just rub it right in. But we don't kill our own sheep in the backyard. So we're not having access to all these animal-based fats that you can use on leather. But don't do that. Use this. I've actually known people who have said, well, I'm just going to put olive oil on it because it's leather. It's natural. It's an oil. And it's like, please don't put olive oil on your leather. That is just a nutty idea. So let's throw that one away. Let's take that and set it aside along with the Armor All. Good leather needs care because it will last and it costs you a lot of money. And if you were lucky and you got a good deal at a thrift store, it will make you a lot of money if it's in good condition. And I'm sure many of you have seen the leather handbags Jocelyn picks up at thrift stores, and she can buy them for $4 or $5 and turn around and sell them the next day for 80 or 90. Hey, you do that by taking care of the leather. But keep in mind, too, that less expensive leathers will also benefit from top-notch care. If you have leather furniture that is split grain or bonded leather, these are less expensive pieces. They have less structural integrity. Consequently, good care will make them last longer. Now, it's not a question of preserving that $2,000 investment in your sofa. It's really a question of getting the maximum life out of a product that is less expensive, less costly. So if you have it, if it's leather, you need to care for it. So I've just mentioned 4 different kinds of leather: full grain, top grain, split grain, and bonded. Oh, by the way, that's the order: full grain, top grain, split grain, bonded. Full grain leather is very expensive. You see that on things like riding saddles, where the cosmetics are not as important as the sturdiness of the leather. So full grain leather rather will have some imperfections. It's just been taken right off the cow, and if the cow had a wart, the leather has a wart. That's the best. That has the most structural integrity. It's the strongest, the most durable. The next up is top grain leather. Top grain leather you see in fine furniture, handbags, shoes, expensive items, but not absurdly expensive, and the top grain leather that's the next grain down. That's where they've sort of taken off that layer of leather that has the warts and all and gone down a little further. The next one is split grain leather, which is a lower quality leather that's also used for the same sorts of things: handbags, shoes, belts, furniture, but less expensive. And finally, there's bonded leather. And after bonded leather, you're not allowed to call it leather anymore. Bonded leather is all the little bits of leather that end up getting left over, and they're in a slurry, and they get painted onto a surface, and voila, leather. It can be very attractive, but it's not as expensive. It's not the same quality. And in order to get the same, well, you're not going to get the same life out of it, but to get close to the same life out of it, it's going to require care. Bonded leather you see a lot in large pieces of furniture or on the backs of furniture where it's not going to be seen. And because I know it's going to be very difficult to remember this, I found a great website, and I'm going to put the link below. It's called Octane Seating, which leads me to believe that they deal with car seats more than anything else. But they have this beautiful page that describes leather in detail, tells you which kind of leather is best, what is what are you looking for, and also gives you tips on how to determine whether or not the leather you're looking at is in fact high quality leather. So if you're planning on making any leather purchases, I would strongly suggest you check out that website. The information is to the point and concise, but very detailed. It's a lot of information to process. And I know I've gone back to this site over and over again and said, wow, let me just look this up again, because it's a lot of raw information. But if you're going to go out and buy an expensive piece of leather, you need to know what you're buying. You need to know how to evaluate that purchase. If you are at a thrift store, you see a handbag, you want to know what the quality of the leather is. You've got that information. You keep it on your cell phone, you look it up, and you can just go right through on their little checklist. Touch the leather, does it bounce back, etc. Look at the edges. Are the edges rough? Are they smooth? And it will help you in the field identify leather items. So I think absolutely it's worth checking out, and it's worth making a little note somewhere in your cell phone of this link in case you just happen to come across a little bit of leather and you'd like to check and see whether or not it's worth the time it takes you to buy it, take care of it, and resell it. So that link is below. Definitely take a look. Now, all we're talking about at this point is taking care of your leather. We know if it's badly damaged, if it's stained, if there are ink spots, whatever, you can dye it. We just saw that here. Look, this one, let's face it, was pretty bad off. Can't tell anymore. But again, notice I used a very dark color. This is a color called mahogany, and it has some reddish highlights, and it covers a multitude of sins. And keep in mind, if you have a piece of stained leather, you do not have to dye it black. You can go over to mahogany, you can go dark brown, dark green, any of the darker colors, and it should work out fine for you. So let's go over to this. Now, this piece is not done yet. It's been deglossed. Here, I did want to show you this, and I hope you can see this. There are areas over here where, as I took the gloss off, some of the color came off as well. For our circumstances, that's not going to be a big deal because this is going to be dyed anyway. And it's going to have to be deglossed on this side a little more too. It's going to be deglossed, it's going to be dyed, and then it's going to be reglossed because Louis Vuitton bags have a nice high gloss to them. I wanted to show you something else. This is before I even started cleaning. Oh look, what's this? Air pillows. The bag has to be kept in its original shape. By the way, this is useful information for whoever ends up winning this bag in the giveaway. When you store your bags, stuff them. Tissue paper is very cheap. If we are doing resale, we have air pillows. Stuff them. Keep that original shape. That's very important because if you don't, you'll end up with little dings and creases. And fortunately, we don't have creases in this bag. We might if we let it go much longer, but we don't have creases. Stuffing your bag and keeping it in its proper shape will eliminate creases. Shoes, shoe trees. Nobody uses shoe trees anymore. If you have expensive shoes, get some shoe trees. Let's face it, a pair of shoe trees is probably about $20, but those beautiful leather shoes are probably about $500-600. It's worth it. Back to the bag again, because I'm through lecturing. When I'm dyeing this bag, I'm going to dye it outside. I'm going to do it in bright sunlight. The reason I didn't need to do this in bright sunlight is because this is so dark, even if I did end up with streaks, you really couldn't tell. This is light. If I end up with streaks, you're going to know it. So when I dye this, I'm going outside, bright sunlight, nice rag, not this one, it's dirty. Nice rag, nice clean rag, and I'm going to buff it as I go to make sure I get rid of all the streaks. We want a nice smooth finish, and I don't mean smooth to the touch, smooth to the eye, no streaking, no spotting. And then we will be ready to offer this as a giveaway, which we are doing next weekend, by the way. So for those of you who've been waiting for the bag, next weekend. This one's going out. I am going to come up with another ridiculous little contest. But as you know, since my contests are all absolutely ridiculous, I really only expect you to enter. It's like, yeah, I don't really need you to tell me whatever foolishness I'm looking for. I just need you to enter. So we'll set that contest up for next week. This bag will be going out. Now, is there anything else I want to say about leather? Yeah, okay. If your leather is really dried out, you can just pour this stuff all over it and let it soak for a while. I've actually done that. Just slathered it on, walked away, come back 8, 12 hours later, wiped off the excess. It's good for the leather, so you don't need to worry about overdoing it. And that's probably my final word on leather for the moment. Let's see. We have a few little things that I do want to deal with. Um, Alex Maga, who was the winner of our beautiful vase, that was the lovely Royal Hager vase that was donated very generously by Kelly Williams, has received her vase. It is at her home. It is living with the rest of her porcelain and portrait of her beautiful cat. So here's the vase in Alex's house. Okay. Um, and we have some pen winners that have not claimed their pens yet, and I'm going to post their names below. I need you to claim the pens sometime within the next week because a lot of people want the pens. So if you're one of the winners and I've listed your name, you need to jump on it because somebody else is waiting to get your pen. So posted below, new pen winner, or no, old pen winners, I'm sorry, one more week. New pen winners will be announced next week. But there is one little heads up on a future giveaway that I want to share with you. Now, Lisa from Desert Dragonworks, and she's the one who makes these beautiful pens and donates them to us free of charge because, frankly, she is so moved by the plight of people suffering from arthritis and carpal tunnel syndrome and Parkinson's disease and who cannot hold a regular pen. Lisa has started crafting flatware. Now, we're going to be able to offer flatware sets as a giveaway, but I want to give you a heads up because she has one piece finished. So this is sort of our sneak preview. I was just amazed at how gorgeous it is. It's a fork, and she's going to be doing other pieces because obviously you can't eat your breakfast cereal with a fork. So take a look at Lisa's fork. Now I'm posting Lisa's information below, Desert Dragon Works. She has a shop on Etsy, and you can also reach her on Facebook. But that's going to be the next giveaway we have. And next week, we are going to be following up on our Etsy shop reviews. We had done this 2 weeks ago, I believe, and because of some interesting things that Etsy did, we needed to sidetrack a little, but we are back on target. So we had 3 shops we looked at, and we're going to talk about those reviews and then choose 3 more shops to take a look at because we need to keep the review process going. And that's about it. That's our business for this week. So thank you so much for watching. Take care of your leather. As usual, if you have any questions, let me know. But I'm pretty sure that Octane Seating website is going to just completely answer any questions you have about leather. All right. See you next week.